What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the Quality Talks podcast. Been away for a few weeks. Took a step away just to chill and relax a little bit and focus on a few other things going on in life, like the new role that I started back end of April. My son's recently finished his A-levels at college as well, so we've been looking at what's going on in the university space, and he's been accepted to a university to do film and media, which is, well, in my eyes, is amazing because I didn't even finish college. So the fact that he's going to university is a massive deal. And yeah, just taking some time really. What happened during that time? We celebrated our second birthday. Last year we actually did a live stream. This year it just snuck up on us, and we weren't prepared at all. So we'll have to do something at some point. But yeah, 2 years. The podcast's been going for 2 years. We've got people that are still with us from day one. We've got so many other people that have joined us along the way at any point. So yeah, massive thank you to everybody that is part of the Quality Talks community right now. Chris is on his way back. We will be recording very soon. We've got some great questions that we asked for to do an AMA. But in this episode, I just want to touch on a few things that I've been going through recently, and how that's kind of got me thinking more about what we do as quality professionals in our roles. And when we look at continuous systemic quality, and we've been talking a lot about that on this show. We've got real strong advocates of systemic quality, and people like Philippa Jennings, for example, who talks a lot about that. And I just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about what's been going on in my world, and how it's made me realize something that maybe I should have probably known in the past, to be fair, but we learn new things all the time, right? So over the last few years, and I've mentioned this on the show before, I've been dealing with some health issues. And these health issues have predominantly been bowel related. And gradually they've been getting worse and worse and worse, and really sort of taking hold of my life, which has not been fun at all. And we are quite open about these sort of things on this show, and sharing how we're doing, and our well-being and all that sort of stuff. And I'm not going to go into all the details, the gruesome details of what that's meant for me, but it has taken over my life in a lot of ways. And trying to find solutions and understanding what's going on has been really difficult. Going for different tests, results coming back normal, and basically being told, oh, it's probably stress related and all this sort of stuff. But as you all know, right, we all know our own bodies. We know when something's not quite right. And I was diagnosed with IBS many years ago. And to me, I feel like IBS is a bit of a label to give something when people, when practitioners can't actually decipher what's going on. And so I've had this condition for a number of years, but over recent years, it's become a lot worse. And in the end, after being fobbed off and ignored, and in some ways, feeling like, in some situations, like I'm a liar or, whatever, I decided to go and get a full body MRI done. And that brought out some really interesting findings. And that's going to lead me on to what I want to talk about. So in that MRI, what it showed was that I had a number of discs in my spine that are bulging. And not only are they bulging, they're also compressing nerves in my spine. So I've recently been seeing a chiropractor, so neurologist who looks into these things and getting chiropractic care. But it isn't just about trying to adjust the spine and do those sort of physical adjustments. What he's also been focusing on is the neurological adjustments. So what I've learned through going to see the chiropractor, and the time that he's taken to actually explain how the brain and the spine connect and send signals around the body and things like that. Basically, what's the issue is that where my nerves are being trapped and my spine is not quite how it should be, that's actually having an impact on sending the right messages to other parts of my body, including my bowel. So the work that we've been doing is both physical and neurological, because the brain waves have been completely disrupted for some time. And also my physical health has also been a problem. So, but one of the things that we got talking about the other day was, I talked to him a bit about what I do in my role as a quality professional, and obviously what we do from a software delivery perspective, and talking to him a bit about systemic quality. And we got into this a little bit more, and it made me think about, if you think about the human body, you think like the brain is the thing that's controlling everything that you do. So the brain sends the messages. However, it's the spine that actually connects those messages with the right parts of the body. And this is stuff that I've been learning more about. And if there is a disruption in that, then obviously the right messages don't flow, the right behaviors don't happen within the body, and all these sorts of things. So when you think about, if you've got a pain in your leg, will maybe treat the leg where, you might put ice packs on your leg, or you might, give it a support or something like that. Actual fact, it's probably not the leg that's the problem. It's another part of the body, or a part of the spine, or something that isn't quite sending the right message somewhere. And how, if you think about how we look at software and software quality, it's very similar when we start talking about systemic quality. Okay, so if we think about how our systems connect together in terms of sort of like our software delivery lifecycle, and how work flows, but how also not just workflows, but how messaging flows, feedback flows throughout that entire chain, is very similar to what our bodies are doing on a day-to-day basis. So you think about, like, quality isn't just checking outputs. It's about helping information flow through the organization. Okay, so making sure that we don't have unclear requirements, making sure that we're not missing any feedback loops, making sure that we don't have poor observability, or our teams are disconnected in any way, or we've got weak communication. This is what got me really thinking about how these things connect more and more. And that I like storytelling and bringing these things to life for people, and this is why it really got my brain going. Because obviously, if we find a defect in production, the first thing often that gets asked is, why did we miss that in testing? Now, okay, yeah, maybe we did miss it in testing. However, that's predominantly not the root cause of the actual issue. The root cause potentially could stem all the way back to the original idea and not having clear requirements, or we've built something that hasn't been testable, or it's not observable, these kind of things. And so when we start thinking about how those things connect, these sort of, like, think about other things like slow delivery. If we see release delays, some of those root causes could be because of dependencies, whether that's dependencies on other teams, dependencies on certain tooling that maybe isn't quite the right tooling, unclear ownership, technical debt, not having the right quality signals throughout, to actually get information back and forth really quickly. If you think about our bodies and how quickly our brains work, to just move our hands like I am here now, that's sending lots and lots of signals between, my brain and my hands, continuously. And then everything else that your bodies are doing, they're hugely complex and amazing pieces of, well, not technology, but you know what I mean, right? It's, but then again, like if you think about what we're doing with AI and AI, we're all saying about AI, can it be trusted? Can it be relied on? But ultimately it's using the data it gets given, right? So if we're building something, AI related, then we need to make sure we're feeding it with the right data. If we're utilizing AI to augment what we're doing, then we need to be making sure that we've always got an eye on what is, coming out of the other end. Weak governance, unclear prompts, missing monitoring, those kind of things. So it got me thinking, like, actually, we talk about the role of the quality professional, and maybe we're more, and I'm not going to, by no means compare us directly to neurologists, right? That would be so wrong. But if you think about what we do, we're always trying to understand the root cause of things. We are trying to understand the entire system. We're trying to understand how things connect, what signal is being sent where and how, and is it being received effectively? If we're communicating that there's an issue, are we communicating it in the right way? If we've written automation, are the feedback loops fast, but are they also reliable, and are they hitting the right markers and they're hitting the right people when they need to go there? Are they triggering the right alerts, and these sort of things? Again, you think about our bodies, when something's wrong, our body sends out an alert, and that can be pain, it can be something else, right? So thinking about how we look at feedback loops, how we look at communication paths, how we look at organizational signals as a whole, what risk indicators do we have, and overall system health, right? So there's so many things in the human body that can help us determine what health our bodies are at any given time, whether it be our bloods, our blood pressure, all the other sort of tests that we can have done, that kind of give us indications of what's going on. But then you kind of connect those things together to actually come out with an outcome and understand what potentially may be a problem and what the root cause of that problem is. Having bloods done and something come on up in your blood doesn't necessarily mean that's the root cause. That can potentially stem from something else, and then from something else, and so on and so on. So it's not just, obviously, when we talk about defects and such like, it's not just trying to understand the defect and fixing. We need to go all the way back to the root cause, and think about, where are potentially signals in the system being lost? How are our teams being disconnected? Where are feedback loops slow? Because again, we may have the feedback loops in place, but are they quick enough? Are they providing value? Do we have too many? Right? Do we have too many feedback loops in the system that actually just creates noise, and it doesn't really actually help us at all? When you think about our bodies, sometimes we as individuals may leave it a long time before we actually go and have a checkup, or whatever that looks like. If something's not quite right, we may leave it for a while, but our body isn't doing that. Our body is always sending us information, right? So you get a pain, right? That's our body telling us something. So every second, every movement, every decision, that's how our bodies work. And really, that's how quality should work, in the sense of, we know it's not a phase. We know, or we should know, it's not a gate, and it's definitely not a department. Okay. Can you imagine these little quality people running around in your body, all trying to do their little thing, when actually it's, all the other parts that are doing things and contributing, and, it just doesn't work, does it? So connecting all those things together, it just has really got me thinking, and I just wanted to kind of just throw this out there, really, and gather some thoughts on it. No science behind what I'm saying at all, other than obviously, the neurological side of what I'm learning. And I'm going to learn more. I'm going to keep diving into this world now more, because it's really, really interesting in terms of understanding how our bodies work. And, just thinking about what and how we can treat different symptoms. But ultimately, how do we get to a root cause, and how do we sort of not misinterpret information that our bodies are sending to us, but also you think about it in our day to day, misinterpreting information that our systems are telling us, having loads of alerts going on. Okay, fine, right? You can have lots of alerts, but do they really help you, or do they create noise? Does having loads of alerts actually enable you to confidently release software, find issues, or does it just create lots of noise, lots of panic, lots of chaos, lots of people running around trying to figure stuff out, and actually there may not be anything going on at all, right? And that's kind of what's been happening with me and my body. So I've been having these bowel issues, and it's because my brain is, the messages that are going between my brain and my bowel are not quite right, ultimately. And I've been getting a lot of back pain, and I've suffered with back pain for many, many years. So I've kind of just put it down to just that's how it is, right? But over time, these things build up and build up. So if you think about, again, when we look at the our systems and the software that we build and our technology stacks, and we start seeing these alerts going, oh, there's something going on over here, there's something going on over there, kind of just start ignoring it, right? Same as what we do with our bodies, right? Oh, I've got a pain in my back. Okay, yeah, I've had that for ages, I'm just going to ignore it. Whereas actually, if I'd gone to find something, find out something, I might have got to a bit of a better place sooner. And I am progressively, starting to get to a better place just through the treatment that I'm having, both physically and neurologically. It is making a huge difference. It's a slow path, it's a long path, but gradually, I'm starting to see, incremental improvements. And I just, it was just something that sort of came up in conversation that I was having the other day, and I just wanted to share it with you, really. No more, no less than that. It's not, there's no science behind it, as I say. But just think about it. I mean, think about, we talk about quality being everybody's responsibility. What's going on in our body? We've got a number of vertebrae. We've got those vertebrae each serve a purpose, and they send signals around the body, but they also connect to each other. So think about that when as a way to kind of almost make things relatable when we start talking about everybody contributes, right? So every part of your body contributes to something, sending signals back and forth, and that's how we need to think about our systemic quality. Think about how we prevent injury, i.e. prevent issues, rather than just treating the pain. Okay, so oh, we've got a defect, I'll fix the defect, there we go. Okay, then the defect will probably come back, or a similar one will come back, or we just keep getting defects because we haven't actually solved the root cause of the problem. We've just addressed the pain at that time. Think about our fast feedback, so our nerves provide immediate signals around the body, and sometimes they get messed up, right? Sometimes they're not actually sending the right information. So think about that. It's not just about having lots and lots of alerts and sort of feedback loops. It's about having the right ones, and those feedback loops sharing the right information with the right parts of the system. Because if they're not, then again, we're going to end up in this world of like reactive chaos for no apparent reason. Think about how we measure through outcomes. Okay, so the goal isn't to have healthy nerves, right? It's to have a healthy body. So all these things connected. So just having a healthy engineering practice So if you're developers and your developers are sitting there going, yay, great, we've got a really great way of working here. We're able to, now we're using AI and we can cut code quicker and all this sort of thing. It's really going well. It's probably not going so well in other parts of the body, i.e. the system, right? So again, thinking about those things. And this is why it sort of became really relatable to me. And you might be sitting there thinking, listening to this, going, Stu, what are you talking about, man? You're just jibber jabbering on. And yeah, maybe I am, but I wanted to share it, right? Because it's been bouncing around in my head and I just needed to get it out. Thinking about our bodies as a system, right? Our systems within our organizations, everything's connected. Everything is connected, right? People working in silos doesn't work. Nerves working in silos doesn't work. Vertebrae working in silos doesn't work. Everything is connected in one way, shape, or form. So yeah, just have a think about it. Just go away, have a think about it. And if you've got other thoughts about like stories or connections between other relatable aspects, then I'm really keen to hear them, because as I say, I love storytelling, right? I love trying to create connection between different things. And as I said, I've invested a lot of time over recent months learning more about systems thinking. And for me, like, the more I learn, everything is connected in some way. Everything is relatable in some way, whether it be to the human body, whether it be to the ecosystem, whether it be to a factory, or what we do on a day-to-day basis from a technology perspective. Everything's a system, right? Our bodies are a system. So I just can't unsee it, really, to be fair. So yeah, it's just a really short episode. I just wanted to get things back on track. Hopefully that you might find this useful, but if you don't, maybe you just love the sound of my voice because you haven't heard it for a few weeks. But I'm keen to get your feedback anyway. It's out my brain now. It's out there in the ether. I also wanted to share a bit about what's been going on with me, because it's been a struggle. I'm not going to lie, over the last few years, definitely a couple of years. It's taken over my life quite a lot, but I'm improving. I feel like I'm on the right track now to incremental improvement. And that's all we can ask for, right? So, think about when you're trying to implement change in your role, think about how you do it incrementally and just chip away at those little things and those underlying root causes and all that sort of thing. But that's it. As I say, it's a short one. We're back on track. We've got an episode out to you. And yeah, I hope you enjoy it. I'm interested in your feedback. If you want to be a guest on the show, we're looking for more guests to come on. We've got to hit a target. Remember, Emily set us a target of 24 guests. I think we're about almost half. I think we're halfway there, and we're halfway through the year. So, we're on target, but we're going to need more guests. We've got a few more being lined up. But if you want to be a guest, please do reach out. We've had a few people reach out directly, which is amazing. As we say, our platform is your platform, your voice. So please do get in touch and use it. If you don't want to come on your own, but you're happy to do a panel discussion again, let me know, and we'll line some stuff up as well. So yeah, but that's it. I'm gonna close out the show now and say goodbye, and join us next time on another episode of Quality Talks podcast. Take care for now.